Welcome back to the farm. I am here in my bedroom where the farm usually starts. As much as I don't like this process, I have, through many trials and errors, figured out that this is the best way to start. At least here, on this farm, in this zone, on this property, with me, this is the best way to start my starts. I don't have the luxury of going out and buying an entire garden of pre-started plants. Maybe one day I'll get there. Because I find this part really tedious and really hard. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it, and there's great satisfaction in knowing that you planted that little seed and now you have these little seedlings growing and you watch them go through all the stages. It's like having a child, but hundreds of them. And they're testy and they like certain conditions and they like certain levels of light, and you have to make sure all of those needs are met. And for me, it's in learning that balance. So in my last video, I'm sorry I've been a little MIA. There's just kind of been a lot going on, not only in the world, but at home, and I'm trying to focus and really use that time wisely, and sometimes just things get pushed around. But we're all good. It's all good, and God is good, and it's going to be good. So I wanted to show you an update on fall. Now, my last video I showed that my seedlings were looking horrible. They were eaten by bugs, they were not thriving, all of their little condition boxes were not being checked. So a lot of them I had to toss and say goodbye to and mourn that loss. More it's the loss of time, because things only have a certain window, and when you get outside that window, you run the risk of not having a crop. So some of them I was able to salvage, and some of them I decided to just go ahead and take a chance on and move them out to the main garden under some shade cloth and under some little covers so that the bugs don't eat them away. And just, I said a little prayer over them, and we're going to hope for the best. Others I was able to really prune back and put in my room under the lights, and they're thriving. They're doing good now. So I was able to save some. I might have been able to save others, and some were a total loss. But this is one reason why I do start my seeds so early in the season, is because I want to make sure that if something goes wrong, I still have enough time to plant another round. And I'm really glad that I did do that this year, because I did still have time to plant another round. Our estimated frost date here in zone 6B, we're 6B/7. I err more on the 6B side because we are near the highest altitude in the state. So we will get ice and frost here versus, across town. May not see that. So I go by our first frost date as being October 15th. I've looked ahead in the weather forecast, and I know you can't completely trust that because it can change. But so far, it's looking like October 15th is a good window to go by. So I did still have time to do cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower, because even though you get that first frost, it's not necessarily going to be a deep, hard frost. And where I live, we don't get feet upon feet upon feet of snow on a regular basis. Our ground is not usually covered in frost. Our ground is not usually covered in snow. So I am confident that I'm okay. I'm also got some Agribon, and I'm going to make some row covers and protect them, go the extra mile. Some of these will also go in my greenhouse that I grew a lot of crops in last year. So I'm confident that we're still okay. And if we're not, at least I know I tried. But we're going to be fine. So I'll show you what I've got going. I started most of these on 8/21, 8/25, like right in that week. So we're coming up on what, a week and a half, maybe 10 days. And others, I started, the Brussels sprouts that are in the field, I started in July. So you can't get that time back. But after talking to my aunt who works for an organic farm, she said with our weather and everything, I'm still fine to do Brussels sprouts. They were harvesting Brussels sprouts in February. So I'm going to give it a try. I don't know unless I try. Others were started in August and I had to let go. So I'm going to show you my little setup here and what I've got going. These lights are the Barina LED grow lights. They're 10 watts each. Hindsight's always 20/20. I would not recommend these lights. I don't think they're strong enough, and in fact, I had to buy more in order to get them enough light. Now that I've added more, they're doing great. So grow lights are an investment. They're one that I might have to make next year. This year just wasn't in the budget. So I'm trying to make what I have work, and I think it's going to be good enough. So here's what I have growing. This tray was started on August 21st, and we've got cauliflower here in the front. And you can see they do still try to reach for the light. They're still a little laggy, but overall they're doing a lot better than what they were before adding the extra lights. Even like these little Napa cabbages back here, let's see if you can see it, are doing really good. They've got a good thick stem. They're putting out their leaves. They'll be able to be transplanted soon. So I've got cauliflower, I've got broccoli, got some Napa cabbage. These are Verona cabbage. I've got quite a few varieties of cabbage growing because I'm trying to figure out what grows best here in our climate, in our zone. I've got some chard, and I've got some collard greens, which grow really well, and some bok choy, which I really enjoy eating that. And then once I figured out that my first round was almost a total loss, after I planted this tray, I decided I should just err on the side of caution, do another tray, and when I figured out I could still do Brussels, I started a lot more Brussels. I started a lot because obviously one of my goals is to be able to give away produce, and Brussels are hard and finicky, and I just wanted to make sure I had enough. I would rather have too many starts than not enough. So I've got more broccoli, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of Brussels. I've got 2 rows of kohlrabi. You can direct seed kohlrabi. However, I just always have a hard time with direct seeding kohlrabi. And then another row, 2 rows of bok choy. And then I've got a lot more cabbage going on this tray. Napa, Savoy, Golden Acre, and some more cauliflower too back there. So these 2 trays, I went ahead and just said, you know what, my others look to be mostly a loss. I'm going to go ahead and plant another round. One thing I do, which some of you might cringe when you see me do this, but when these are getting real leggy, kind of just when the soil's not super wet, I just kind of push them down and try to help their stalks go up, and that by keeping them under the dirt when they're starting to get leggy helps strengthen them a little bit more. So you can see like this one, that's what I mean by leggy. The lights are too high, and I'm running out of lights, so I'm trying to just make all this work, and they're stretching and reaching for the light. I'm actually gonna thin this one out because there's 2 in here, and see how these shorter ones do, because they're not stretching so hard. But this awkward looking one is one that I tried to save from the last round. It is, I think it's broccoli. Looks pretty sad, but it's growing some new leaves, and I'm just hopeful that it will make it. Same with this one. That's a cabbage. I don't know. I'll plant it deep, but this one's, they're just kind of looking funny. They just don't look right. Tray is this a tray that I had started, I can't even tell you when I started this tray. I'm like the worst gardener ever. Oh my gosh. But it was started, I want to say beginning of August, and then some of these are from the first round that are pulling through. That's a Napa cabbage. It's pulling through. These are broccolis that are pulling through. And, oh, these were started, I know when I started these. I started these back when the hogs came through because they wiped out my kale. So I went ahead and started this tray and more kale to try to make up for what was lost in the garden. But this is just a variety of broccoli, cauliflower, some of the cabbages that were from the first round that I was trying to nurse along. And you can see this one's bouncing back. Yeah, I remembered. It came back. I have all this in like a journal that I write down, and I'm trying to go off the top of my head. But it's proof that you don't have to be a perfect gardener to be a successful gardener. He's over there shaking his head.
Do you think the plants like being in the house?
I think they enjoy it.
You think they like looking out the window?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
They have a beautiful view. It's where they're going to be soon. So that is my little mini fall garden tour here in my bedroom. Oh, and I almost forgot. I did just yesterday start 2 trays of onions, 1 white, 1 red, and I'm excited to have onions back in the garden. I'll hopefully plant these out the end of October, beginning of November. They will be out there all winter, and I'll be able to harvest them late spring, early summer like I did this year. That's a really great and easy thing to grow as well. But this is just a little update on my fall starts and a little mini fall garden tour here in the house. And what?
In the house? This isn't like MTV Cribs.
Listen, it just is what it is.
Veggies in the house. Supposed to be eating them in the house.
Well, we will. They're just like, they're starting here and finishing here. Like they start right here and they finish right there. You're not impressed?
No.
You don't find the irony in all of this?
No.
That's kind of sad.
Goodness gracious.
Anyways, back to what I was saying. You don't have to be a perfect gardener or have a perfect setup to grow food. Just get out there and try, use what you have, work within a budget, and it will all come together. Will there be bumps in the road? Will hogs eat your plants? Will cabbage worms come out and destroy them? It's quite possible, but you just have to keep pushing through those things and keep going and keep trying. What? You want to say something?
I was trying to think of something to say. I don't know why we talking about fencing a garden, but why do we even have a garden? We just bring everything in the house.
It has to grow out there.
Raised beds in the house.
Raised beds in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
I get, Gracie, you're not using your closet.
So ridiculous.
Don't tempt me. This would make a great spot for a raised bed. Next to the bed. Raised bed. Anyway, I gotta get off here. This is getting bad. No, you can't go to Grandma's yet. So, maybe you're feeling better about yourself now after watching this video and thinking you could do this too. So plants, they are resilient. They will bounce back. I do my best to give them what they need, good growing conditions, even if that sometimes means in the house. Because I do believe this life, it takes a commitment and a dedication, and sometimes... Don't look at me like that. I'm going to kick him out. He's not helping. In the meantime, hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. In the meantime, may the Lord bless and keep you. Until next time. You're thrilled.